The last but not least presentation bears the title, For the Record, Musicians Are Getting Royalty Ripped Off. Please welcome Nathan King.
So, many of us here have heard of artists like Beyonce, Kanye West, Taylor Swift. But a better and more important question that I should ask is who here has heard of Kevin Kadish? Kevin Kadish is a songwriter who co-wrote the song All About That Bass. This song was released by Meghan Trainor in 2014. It went on to be number one in 78 countries and was streamed 178 million times. But the problem with this is that for the whole year of 2014, Kevin Kadish was only paid $5,679 from streaming services. To some, this might sound like a lot of money, but in actuality, it is not. On average, the musician earns only $90 for every million streams. This leaves many artists and musicians wondering, how am I going to feed my family? I think Kevin Kadish's problem raises a much more important question of what are these flaws and problems within the music industry that go unnoticed by us. The musicians and artists that we see and hear every single day are just a small portion of the music industry. If we look close enough, an all too typical picture of a musician's life comes into focus. Let me paint this picture for you. You work hard and you toil day and night to make a living in the music industry. You think that one day everything is going to work out for you, that you will be shot to superstar success. But then reality kicks in. You are not earning enough money to live healthily and steadily, so you take a second job. One day, the second job that has nothing to do with music becomes more lucrative and more productive for your life, so you abandon your dreams of music altogether. Is it right that people who pursue their dreams are oppressed by some flaws and issues within the music's publishing and copyright systems? Copyright is a tradition that dates back to Venice in 1469 with the creation of the printing press. Copyright is the publishing rights that somebody has to publish their works. Copyright over a good piece of technology. Publishing is the process of taking that good and putting it out into the world for other people to use. Now, when America was first founded, it drew very heavily from Europe's copyright laws. But it was not until 1831 that music was included within these copyright laws. From the period of 1831 to 1909, there were many technological advances that were made, such as the ability to record music, that led to a major copyright update in 1909. With this newfound ability to record music came a problem of how are musicians going to be paid with their music being played all around the world. So, a company called the American Society of Composers, Authors, and Publishers, also known as ASCAP, was formed. This company's job is to collect payments for musicians and then give those payments to the musicians. But in 1941, the government had deemed that ASCAP had become way too powerful and made them sign consent decrees. These consent decrees basically allow the government to look over ASCAP's shoulder and slap them on the hand whenever they get out of line. Now, fast forward to 1976, and there's another major copyright update. But I think the most important and relevant one to our society now is the addition and creation of the Digital Millennium Copyright Act, signed in 1998 by President Bill Clinton. This was meant to address how music and art was going to look in the new digital age, with the digital age being the rise and creation of internet within society. The government saw that the future of music and art was most likely within the internet and created laws to parallel that. Now, in 2015, the Copyright Office did a study of whether or not the laws should be updated and revised again. They found significant problems, but have yet to actually decide of whether or not these laws should be changed. Therefore, I think now is the time for us to consider the interest of songwriters in order that these publishing and copyright laws may be changed for all musicians. I propose that a Bill of Rights be instituted for songwriters, that current licensing procedures are changed, and that current laws are updated from a long overdue revision, and that a moldable law system is created. The first thing I would like to address is a Bill of Rights. ASCAP themselves wrote a Bill of Rights for songwriters and artists. This mirrors America's own Bill of Rights and lists out the kind of quality and actions that musicians deserve to be treated with. It lists things from artists deserve the right to choose when and where their works are licensed, and it also lists out things from they deserve to be compensated for their works and generate and take part in the profits that they generate. I believe that this Bill of Rights, if it was instituted as law and as a guideline for how musicians should be treated, would be morally beneficial for copyright laws. It would allow musicians to have freedom over their work. It would prevent record companies from making musicians to sign contracts that force them to make music they do not want to make and then taking most of the profits from those musicians. Without honorable copyright law, those who pursue music will be financially unstable, leading to a loss of artistic expression in current and future generations. This Bill of Rights falls in line with the honor and justice that all musicians deserve and creates practical guidelines for how we should treat these people. Now, I believe that when a revision happens, and a revision should happen to copyright laws, that this Bill of Rights should be instituted. Now, the laws have not been revised truly since 1976. The DMCA, Digital Millennium Copyright Act, was an addition to this, but not a true update. I believe that now is the time for these laws to be truly updated by the Copyright Office. They have already said that they have wanted to make this change happen, so why not have this change happen? But a big problem with this is that changing these laws can be hard to do very quickly over short periods of time. Just as hard as it for people to anticipate the future, it can be just as hard for people to change laws on a dime. I believe that if a moldable law system was created in which laws could be changed as the times change, that we would be able to create laws that would be beneficial at the times they need to be made. Take ASCAP and their consent decrees. For the past decade, they have been trying to get these consent decrees altered, as they are irrelevant in the digital age, and they lead to a loss of power for ASCAP to pay their musicians. But the government has repeatedly denied their efforts to get these changed. But if a moldable law system was created in which music politicians, scholars, and lawyers could come together and work together and balance extreme opinions of music law, then they would be able to create the change that ASCAP needs and create the change that all musicians need. Now, many critics of what I propose say and agree that there are flaws within the industry, but these flaws are not big enough to warrant a change. I believe that these people should take a closer look at the music industry and truly see how these issues are plaguing people. Take, for example, piracy. Piracy is the illegal downloading of music on the internet. This is an ever-growing issue that many people find hard to determine whether it's wrong or right, but it leads to a loss of profits for musicians. Current licensing procedures are overly complicated, and many musicians do not understand how they work. Streaming services pay less money to lesser-known artists, which creates an unsustainable income. On average, the musician earns $34,000 a year. This is not enough for one to live healthily and steadily within major cities such as Los Angeles and New York. Even older musicians can be stuck and forced into endless cycles of touring. Take legendary surf rock musician Dick Dale, who at one point was considered to be the king of surf guitar. At the age of 78, he is forced to go on tour to pay off his medical bills. Is it right that these people are oppressed by these flaws? So if somebody really thinks that the issues and problems of the music industry are minuscule or unimportant, they should take a closer look to really see how these problems are affecting individual musicians. The music laws created by the government are clearly flawed, lacking in clarity. They need to be revised in order to take account new platforms, such as streaming services, to better compensate artists, to provide musicians with the personal freedom of creating art. There are helpful changes that should be made, changes that would benefit people such as me and you with the music that we experience on a daily basis. Now, I'm not here to completely bash on and destroy the music industry, as there are many great and wonderful things that have come out of it. Rather, I am here to raise up issues that go unnoticed. When musicians like Kevin Kadish and Dick Dale are forced into unfavorable circumstances because of flaws and issues that can be changed, should we not change these in order that all musicians are given the opportunity to pursue their dreams? Thank you.